Hello, welcome. This is our weekly, broadcast. Today we have an exciting edition, but before we go into it, as usual, let me play the intro. Okay, welcome. If you're watching the replay, which I know many of our viewers do, then please make sure to like the Facebook page, or if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe so that you get notifications when when next we go live. We go live every week, and then from time to time we also share content on both pages. All right, this week we are hearing from the horse's mouth. Not that you're a horse, but I thought it would be great to bring on an experienced hiring manager. Actually, Angoli, who we're speaking with today, has experience on both sides, right? She has both been a recruiter, right, on the consulting side, and for more than 5, 6 years now, she has actively hired as part of her role as HR manager for leading technology brands. You've worked mostly in technology. Anyway, so I'll let her introduce herself. Angoli, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So tell us a little about yourself and share your career story with us, please.
Okay, my name is Annalie. Yes, like Gladys said, she's my senior partner. So I'm an HR professional. I've been in HR I've been doing HR formally for 7 years, then informally for 9 years now. Like you said, I've also worked in the consulting side, and I also worked with majorly in the IT sector. That's actually my core for now. Starting up, actually, I didn't start up. HR wasn't like love at first sight for me. Growing up when I was trying to study, I wasn't. I studied psychology. And after that, it's good to have mentors. I had this mentor, a cousin of mine that owned a consulting firm. So sometimes I used to go to her house and spend time with her. So that was sometimes I supported her with recruitment. Sometimes I go with her for trainings. And that's how the interest in human resources started. So when I finished school, started doing NYC and all that, I wanted to do HR. But unfortunately, as of then, there was no slot or space in the HR department as of then. So I had to go like the longer routes from admin and all that. Finally, I landed in HR. And that I pursued after my master's as well. I decided, luckily for me, fortunately for me, I got a job with Leading Edge Consulting. Not Leading Edge, that was like voluntary. Then later I got a job with Human Leadership Resources, and that's when I started my formal HR experience. And then from there, I decided to move into practice. I said, having the
client side,
client side, and I work with Simfix and 54 Gin.
Okay, great, interesting path. So that means the biggest thing for me is, especially for my mid to senior level professionals who are going to be watching this, that means that the main thing we want to get is recruiting. You've recruited loads of people, right?
Of course.
Across across levels. So let's just assume you're advising us now, right? I'm looking to say I'm a mid to senior level professional, and I'm looking to move jobs. I want to know the hacks, not the usual, let's follow the hiring process, right? But what are the insider secrets, right, that we should know? Yeah, right. And so I'd like you to address it from two perspectives. Let's first look at the application process. What are the things that I can do to quickly get noticed, right, and get selected to get me an invitation for the interview? And then after we've talked about that, I'd like to talk about, okay, what about at the interview stage and possibly beyond? So I'll just put up our very first question, right? So what hacks are there available, can we use for the application process?
Thank you. That's a beautiful question. So, to be quite honest, right? At this point, especially at this level for mid to senior levels, I can't overemphasize the importance of having your networks, right? Because a lot of jobs, I know some people go to websites and apply, and to be quite honest with you, a lot of jobs that people have closed out without it even, appearing on the website. So you hear things like we're not recruiting, but you realize that every month you see a new face in the organization. So how is that
Yes.
happening?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
so for me, I think the first and foremost thing is, first of all, work on your networks. Ensure that people in your industry know you, because sometimes a lot of things happen based on referral. I mean, the last job I did was, it was a friend I even sent it to me, to be quite honest with you. I was just like, chilling, and I just got a text, and I was like, okay, what is this? And I'm like, this is a job and this fits your profile. Are you interested? So that's so important. The last two jobs, to be quite honest, even the other one I had, it was a friend that even called me. We were just having a normal chit chat, planning for her wedding, and next thing she asked me, are you interested? So I think that's the first and foremost thing that is very important, key. I
Absolutely.
think
I
that
agree.
people, especially depending on where you're working, if you're working in Nigeria or Lagos, sometimes you get so busy that you don't have time to polish your network. You need to polish your network. You need to know them. I mean, when you're having those conversations, it's not just about having a drink, it's not about just chit-chatting about music or whatever. You also need to talk about your job so that they know that, okay, this is what you do, this is your skill set, this is your area of strength. That is one. Secondly, everything is going global, everything is going digital, right? So currently, most people, for especially for headhunters, they headhunt you on LinkedIn,
LinkedIn,
right?
absolutely.
Most people will say, I'm not a social media fan. I'm not a social media fan, to be quite honest. I'm not. If you go to my Facebook page, I think the picture there was taken in, I don't know, maybe 2010. Being honest. But I realized that a lot of things happen on social media. My LinkedIn, I've gotten invitations from different countries. For roles that are beyond the borders of my locality, and that's because of my LinkedIn profile. So I
Yeah.
think for me, I say, please be visible, right?
Yes.
Be accessible
Absolutely.
and be visible, because you can't say that you're in your cocoon and people are reaching you. Please be visible, please be accessible. So those are the two things I think.
Absolutely.
There are more than these two things, but for me,
Hmm.
from experience, these are the two things that I know that are very recurrent in terms of finding you first.
Okay.
Uh,
So
yeah.
finding you first. Okay. So um, even when, okay, so we know, and I agree completely, that networking is actually the secret key, right, to getting opportunities that you really want. But people doing their job search strategy use a combination. Sometimes you see online, or even when you get that opportunity, when you want to apply, right, to that role, what are some of the things that one should bear in mind? As in, okay, so you've seen the job description, they've said apply. What's a hack there that one can use?
Okay, that's it. That's a beautiful question. So to be quite honest, I'm talking from the recruiter point of view. A
Yes.
lot of times we get tons of CVs, right, for different
Mm-hmm,
roles,
mm-hmm.
especially if they're advertised, right?
Yes.
If you're headhunting, it makes it easier because you know what you're looking for. You go and headhunt and pick that person and contact the person. But
Mm-hmm.
especially for the roles that are advertised, to be quite
Mm.
honest with you, nobody has that time to go through tons of CVs. So what normally happens is that they're skimming through CVs. So you skim, what are
Mm-hmm.
you looking for? So if you're looking for, let's say, a marketing manager, the JD, the recruiting manager knows what he or she is looking for. The person, skims through your CV to see, I don't know, do you have the value points? Is it properly written? Is it organized? Does it look good? So it's actually at face value first. Like the person is like a principle of advertising, right? They say your advert has to have a stopping power. So if your CV doesn't have the stopping power, trust me, you will not get noticed. So
I
at the
like
end,
that stopping
yeah,
power.
yeah,
I
stopping
like
power.
that. Yeah, I
So,
like that.
just to hint you a bit, some of them are basics, right? So the basic one is that your CV needs to look good, right? So it doesn't mean colorful, but it shows that you really thought about your CV, making it properly formatted, right? has the basic contact details and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
beyond that, my focus right now is on the mid to senior level. So that's why I'm going to focus
Yes.
on the key things, right?
Yes.
Beyond that, people are looking for keywords, right? With this new ATS system, recruitment systems, a lot of people look for is like, I mean, people that my friends in the communications and social media, work would understand what I'm trying to say. They look for core words. They don't check everything. So if you're looking for a marketing manager, or looking for a HR manager, for instance, probably you're looking for
Yes.
a talent manager. They are
Yes.
looking for those core buzzwords, not necessarily
Yes.
looking through your CV for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if they plug that in the ATS, the CVs that has those keywords are the
Are
CVs
the
that
ones that get
come up,
shortlisted. Yes.
right. Then if the person is doing manual, it's the same principle. So what I'm trying to say here is that sometimes I'll try to give you an example of a role. For instance, customer service manager, right, is a normal role we're all aware of. Some companies call it customer support. Some companies call it customer success, while some companies call it customer service, right?
Yeah.
So when you're trying to apply for a role, it's the same role, right? Some companies a bit different, right? Especially for if it's more like tech, hardware is a bit different. They break it down pre-sales, after sales, support,
Yes.
and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the advice is if you're going through the JD, also go through the industry to understand what is your role called in that industry, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
if in your previous industry it's the same role and it's called customer support and it's called post sales service or whatever it is, in brackets, right? If you can mention that so that it knows that known as this or in bracket or use that same word that the
Yes.
industry is known for so that
Yes.
when you have the opportunity of having an interview, then during your interview they can now start explaining. So it's
Yeah.
important to use some keywords that you have done. Nobody is saying don't manufacture words, right? Write the experiences you have, but learn to use the right word based on the industry you're hiring for.
Also the
or,
JD.
or the JD
Actually,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yes.
I do that shortcut. Just look at the JD. Yeah.
Mhm.
And people tend to talk about, first of all, in terms of, you will see the job title there, as you've mentioned, right? There's no point if they advertise for customer success manager. Why are you using customer service? Yeah, right, in your job title. So you use the words that they use in the JD. Also, in terms of looking at the JD, I find that when people just tend to automatically do it when they're listing the job requirements on the JD. They just seem to automatically put the most important things first, right? And sometimes the really important things are repeated twice or thrice. So it's really studying that JD and bringing out the keywords. Sorry,
Very
I
true.
broke it. I just wanted to emphasize that. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we've said it. Properly formatted CV. Use, the right words. Remember that you must optimize for keywords because you have to get past the ATS, and even if it's a human being scanning it, you must match their requirements. Okay, so that's the application process. There's one other thing though that you mentioned when we spoke about this earlier, that thing about highlighting requirements. Do you want to speak to that a bit? When we were discussing the question earlier, you made a point about, especially for mid to senior level people, it's important to highlight your requirements. Do you want to expatiate for us?
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so so when what's it called? So this is actually taking through we've gone through the finding, being available, being found to the application process. Now this is more like moving to the proper like assessment or chat or interview process depending on the company. Some company can be an informal process that you're having tea or coffee and having talking over lunch. Some company is a proper formal process, right? So the important key thing here for middle to senior level here is, what is that thing? In every JD, like Ladi said, they may have 10 requirements, but if you look at it properly, there's some key requirements they are emphasizing. And to be quite honest with you, beyond those key requirements that is being emphasized, there are some unwritten things that the recruiter is looking for. right?
Yeah.
As you grow up the career ladder, people are looking for value, right? People are looking at the bottom line. So at that level, you go beyond the basic work
Of
to
I can do my job.
I can do my job to what value are you bringing to the table? Sometimes you ask people,
Exactly.
so why am I hiring you? And they give you copy and paste. I tell people, don't do copy and paste. Be authentic to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way you can be authentic to yourself means you've studied. I mean, I know these things like cliche, people go like, I don't have the time to go to. You have to go to the gym. You have to understand the role you're being recruited for. Sometimes you ask people, what role have you applied? And they say, I don't know. I'm like, at that level, I mean, if it's an entry person, it's forgivable. But that level, it passes an aspect of being unserious. Even if someone refers you to the role, one of the basic questions you need to ask is, what company, what role? Then if you have an insider information, you can ask, what is the key thing they're looking for? I mean, beyond the JD, there's always the key thing they're looking for. If it's a HR, maybe they're having cultural issues, they want someone to revamp their culture. If it's a marketing manager, probably looking for someone to, increase their brand, brand impressions, beyond brand impression. Because right now it's not only just about impression, they're looking at bottom line. So you're looking at what you can return on investment. So when you go for those kind of, even if it's a finance person, right? Right now, I'm not focusing on any
specific,
career. It's specific career, it's
just
general.
general.
Whatever you're doing, you should be able to link it to the bottom line. So if you're the finance manager, whether it's the CFO, whatever you are doing, you have to look at it in terms of, how do I save cost? How can I help the company increase money? That is the two things that are key beyond every other thing that's written there, whether they're asking for audit, they're asking you for management account, they're asking you for cash balance. Those things are just basic operational function. Beyond that, the recruiter is looking not just
strategic.
Be strategic. What is that strategic thing that you can offer to that company?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're having that chat, because you understand that JD, especially if you've studied the industry, so you're looking at what are the key problems or challenges this happens in this industry. So if you're in the IT, right, and you're looking for talent, or in HR, for instance, what is that key thing that is a challenge to the industry? You look at the war of talent. People are migrating. The borders are being flung open. I mean, COVID has helped reduce some things, but with COVID, people are even working remotely. So that has made you to lose more talent because they can work from home. So one of the key things in that industry is young talents tend to be restless and they tend to migrate. So your question, will you be asking yourself, how do I recruit this talent faster and how do I keep them? Because I mean, after training them, you don't want to lose the amount you spend or invested in training them. You don't want to lose them. So how do I keep them? So that's one of the things you're looking for from that aspect. So if you're, I mean, you can give me any role, I can link it back to the bottom line. So when you're being, everything has to be linked to at that level. It's not just your function becomes operational. So you have to look at every function. If you're a lawyer, I mean, I'm just trying to, buttress this point by apply it to other professions. If you're a lawyer, you're looking at, how do I keep this company from being litigated? Are there areas we can make money? Are there things that we're doing that can expose us to losses or lawsuits? So not just about the going to the SLA, MOUs, contracts, you're being signed. Those ones are just operational. I mean, you're looking at critical things. If you're an IT person at that level, you're looking at IPs. What are the things that you can do that can help the company, develop internal IPs, intellectual property that they can own, that is their own, rather than depending on outsourcing or open frameworks. So there are different things you're looking at across board. So it's not just about hitting your target. It's about meeting the bottom line. It's about adding value. It's about saving costs. So whatever you're doing or whatever you're saying, it doesn't matter the industry. These are the key things that are looking at. How can you link your function? How can you link whatever you're doing to these key things?
Absolutely. Just to buttress your point, right? And I don't know why, I'm always surprised when I'm interviewing senior people and I realize that not enough people have this mindset that at mid to senior level you have now become strategic, not just operational. So yes, operations must run, right? And that's the technical aspect of the job. But beyond that, you're a partner in the business, and you must therefore be able to see things from the executive level, as you have pointed out. Just to illustrate, I was sitting in an interview a couple of weeks ago. It was for a very senior role, a senior commercial role. And the people that were being interviewed, of course, senior people, average experience 20 years. These are veterans. They're not newbies at all. And they had the brief, they were coming to head something. We must have spoken to about 7 candidates. Do you know that whilst they were able to speak to, here's what I've done before, right? And most people were able to speak to, well, here's how I think I can fit into the role. Very few of them were able to answer the question. So let's bring it home now. Apply it to if you were to resume today, what and what would you do? Most people answered the question with, well, first I will assemble my team, all the generic stuff. And then you probe further and say, no. You knew you were coming for this interview today for this company, right? You should, by now, you should know, you're commercial, right? So you will know our products, you will know our markets. Help us see how you address our products and our market. It was incredible, though. Maybe 2 or 3 people had bothered beyond the, just general, oh, I know the company name. Okay, I went to the website. They didn't know the products. They didn't know the market for more than a generic level. I was shocked. Maybe because I'm HR, right? I take it for granted that people know these things. And I can't overemphasize it. Your research is the difference between you're getting the job or not. Because at senior level, we're looking for a partner, someone who knows the business. You know your function, yes, but you're coming to. And how do you show us you're partnering? By being able to show us the things that we can't see or the things that we are worrying about, by demonstrating that you're interested enough, not just in the job opportunity, but in the company now, yeah, to even research and show up properly. I was shocked. I'm sorry, I'm still, you can tell from, I still can't get over it. You can tell from the way I'm going on about it. Okay, let's move. What are some of the things, right? So interviews are funny. Sometimes, great, you meet nice, friendly people, sometimes not. But so what are some of the things that can happen during an interview? I know that when we were talking, you were talking about red flags. Can we talk about that a bit more, right? In the interviewing process, red flags. On my side, if I were the candidate, and what are some of the things that will give red flags about me to the hiring manager? Can we talk about that?
Oh, thanks. Now, this is a beautiful question. So, personally, I see interviews as a dating or courtship process, right? So it's not just about, a lot of people get very focused on, I need a job, rather than, is this a right fit, right? So a lot of times we get offers and maybe they splash extra money on your salary and you just run off rather than checking, is this what you want to do? Is it in line with your career path? Is that the next level? Because you can decide to move lateral or vertical, depending on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for an experience in another industry, depending on your long-term goal. So if your long-term goal is to become a consultant, it's actually better you move, so you can have a taste of different industry or function, so that when you become a consultant, based on the experiences you've had, you can render services. So it depends on what your goals are, right? So like I said, it's more like a courtship or dating process. So the person is having a chat with you to see, do I want to, get into a relationship with you? You, as a candidate, you also need to be looking at your prospective company. Do I really want? That's a kind of confirmation process. Yes. So while the recruiter is looking for red flags in terms of, is it a culture fit, is it a skill set fit, and all that, do I like, some people are even go outright, do I like him or her? Some people are particular about appearance. Let's just be real. Depending on the role, they're looking at, do I have Do I like him or her at the same time? These are things that we need to look up.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, just 1 second. Beyond that, you should be looking out for that company as well in terms of, do I want to work with you? And if you're
Yes.
looking at it from do I want to work with you part, you're looking at the person that's interviewing me.
Mm-hmm.
How is he or she speaking? Is
Yes.
it being vain? Is it the kind of company I would want to work with?
Yes.
Secondly, you're looking at the whole communication process. It might be a panel, it can be one person. You're looking at who is my potential line manager.
Yes.
You're looking at
Very
the person from the
important.
point of, can I work?
Oops, we've lost her. Oh, why? Okay, so whilst we're waiting for Chineye to come back in, we were just addressing the issue of, it's not, the interview is not one-sided. Yes, the company is assessing you for fit, for competence, but you also must be assessing the company. And she's pointed out, especially for fit goes both ways. They want to know, will you fit into our team? But you too, you want to ask yourself, is this a team I want to work for? Sorry, I was just doing a recap whilst waiting for you to come back in. Please
Well,
go
I just
on.
realized that the internet went. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
My screen.
Mhm.
So, like I said, so it's more of, you're also assessing, especially it's very important that, most people are going to interview you are going to be your major stakeholders, to be quite
Yes.
honest. So you're looking at these people, can I work with them? Are they the people that I would like to work with?
Mm-hmm.
Even if when you're asking some questions, people ask based on salary. I think for me, I see salary as last.
Oh, the internet is cutting in and out. Okay, so that's the other thing. Before she comes back in, I wanted to emphasize that whatever you do in your interview process, is important that you are talking to the person who's going to be your line manager. There's a popular saying we have in HR, people join jobs, right? Join companies, but they leave because of managers.
Oh,
If you're
true.
not able to get it right, as in, being sure that you can work with your line manager, you may be setting yourself up for failure. So
Very
it's very important to do that assessment and be sure that you can work with the person, no matter how brilliant you are. Once you have the wrong manager, there's very little that you can do. That you will just be frustrated, and your ability to make an impact will be limited. Let me hand the conversation back to you.
I don't know what's happening to the internet. Apologies,
It's
everyone.
fine. It happens.
Um,
Tech issues.
okay. So, yes, like Lady was saying, so it's dating. One, you're looking at the company, you're looking at their processes, right? So, some people are used to working in very structured organizations and they are
Mm-hmm.
structured that way. So, by the time
Mm-hmm.
you're having your chat, you're trying to understand, are they that structured? Some people
Mm-hmm.
like companies that, especially the tech people, they're not very particular about structure, you just want things to work free
Mm-hmm.
flow. You're looking at those things when you're having your chat. Some people ask as simple question as, for this chat, do I need to, is the video, if it's going to be what's it called, a virtual chat, is it formal? Do I need to dress up? It's a basic.
Formally, yes.
Some companies, when you come on all dressed with a tie, they look at you like, oh my God, where's
Red
this guy
flag.
coming from? It's a red flag for them. So you need to understand the industry, you understand yourself, because the only person you can be is yourself and the best version of yourself. You're asking yourself, can I fit in? Do I want to fit in? Because right now you're not going to be asking about the salary. The salary is something that you have to, when you're sure is what you want, you start negotiating what you want or all that. We need to ask yourself some basic truth, because at that level, when you move and you make a mistake in your movement, if you're not careful, it
Huge, yeah.
can be, yes, it can be a problem with you readjusting. So it's not just something you jump on. So you ask yourself, can I fit? Do I want to fit? There are two different things. Maybe you might struggle, but you're willing to fit. That is fine. Two, these people, I'm the hiring manager. You have the opportunity of speaking to your hiring. Is very good for you to understand who your hiring manager is. And I also I normally ask this question. I ask you, what are the key critical, what is the key success factor for this role?
For this
That
role,
is a
yeah.
question I always ask, and I think it's critical you ask, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
realize a
yeah.
lot of
I
hiring
agree.
managers don't really know what they're looking for, right?
Yeah,
They know
yeah.
what they're looking for from a JD point of view. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're getting fired, you're not getting fired based on your JD to a large extent. A lot of time you're getting fired based on something that is not exactly on your JD.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Along the same vein, I think another question that one should ask, in fact, I think you should ask it, don't wait till the end, when they finish asking all their questions, then you will now ask. I suggest that as soon as you can make an opportunity to ask the question, ask it, is over the next, how will success in this role be measured, right? What are the KPIs for this role? In the next 90, 180 days, what must someone in this role accomplish to be considered successful? The reason why I even say you must ask it, you should try and ask it at the beginning, is as Chineye, as Angoli pointed out, right? A lot of the time, the hiring manager isn't so clear what they're trying to
Very
hire for. So when you ask that question, instead of spending time following the JD, which is just a bunch of criteria, asking you, so have you led 4 people before? And you force the conversation towards performance. You force them to that. When you ask me, okay, so you want to hire me, how will you measure my success? It forces me, if I've not thought about it before, to really think about the role and articulate, what constitutes success.
Very true.
And so it pushes the conversation to what really matters and gives you the best opportunity to show up, in a positive manner, because you're answering the correct things rather than just leaving things open. And then the second effect that question has is, as they're articulating, this is what success means in this role. It's kind of like an informal contract,
Oh,
right?
yes.
If you tell me that at the interview and I come in and with that understanding that those are my KPIs, it will be one kind for me to then resume, and then you will say, well, it has changed. It's not that it will never change, right? But it's kind of like a soft contract, more or less. Yeah. Okay. So, well, I mean, time is flying. It's past 30 minutes. Can you imagine? So just to wind up, to round up, I want to ask, so we've talked about questions at the end, I mean, during the interview. Are there any other questions you can think of? One, two, what would you advise when it comes to negotiating salary? Those are the two things I want us to cover.
Okay, so with regards to other questions you need to ask, right? I think that expectation for the role, what's the key success factor? I think is very critical. So you need to know who your hiring manager is. If you're lucky, the person is speaking to you. If the person is not, you can request, what's the next stage? Can I have an opportunity to meet him?
Yes.
Right. That is pre you accepting the offer. It's very important.
Yes.
Right. So it's very important that you have a chat with whoever your hiring manager is, even if it's been outsourced or whatever, because that's the person that will praise you at the end of the day. It's not who hired you. So that's the other question I wanted to ask. Then beyond this, negotiation is a very tricky one, to be quite honest, because from the HR point of view, and depending on your industry and your location, right? Some rules govern. I know in the UK, you're not some things are no. Asking you for age, gender, how much you currently earn is a no. I remember the first job I got in Nigeria, and I was asked, how old are you? And some funny questions. I was like, come on, it's unprofessional. But that is different depending on where you are. So some companies are very particular about knowing how much you earned last. And when you're being a bit, secretive, it can actually be something that, they'll like, because some people want their own pay. They don't have a pay structure. What they do is they splash money on whatever you earn last. Right now, the question is not whether it's good or bad, whether it's professional or unprofessional. That's not what this conversation is about. This is actually about giving you hacks in terms of real life issues. So it's down for you to know where you land. If you land in a place that's a bit open, you can decide how much do you want to earn, how much you think your value. Because remember what we said earlier on, your conversation should be about value, not about your work. So
Yes.
the question is, how much do you think your value is worth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're fortunate to be in those kind of industry or that company that is not particular where you're coming from, then you can
Mm-hmm.
decide how much do you want to earn. The
Yeah.
truth is, whatever you say will be negotiated down. So most times it's good to have like an inflation, maybe 10 or 15% extra, whatever you want. So by the time it's
Mm-hmm.
negotiated that you know what your work, decide what your walk away price is.
Yes. Yes, very important. The
Decide
in
what your walk
negotiation
away.
we call it your partner, right? The
Mhm.
point at which you are not willing to negotiate any further, and you
Yes.
do need to decide it upfront. I agree. Please go
Upfront, what
on.
the
Yeah.
walk away price is.
Mm-hmm.
While some companies they tell you what the salary is ab initio. I mean, some multinationals will tell you this is the pay range for this role. So when you're applying for that role, you already know what the pay range is. Although
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can negotiate a bit. So what you negotiate at that level is probably the band. So at that band, they may be charging or they may be paying maybe let's say for instance maybe between 15 million to I don't know maybe 17. So what you're
Mm-hmm.
negotiating is just within the band, not necessarily you can go up because that can be, a tick off. And it's also
Mm-hmm.
important, especially when you're working with, if you were not contacted directly, if you're contacted by a recruiter, depending on where
Recruiter.
the recruiter is coming from, to understand where is there a budget for the role. That
Yeah.
question is a nice question to ask. So that helps you give you an idea if it's structured. So if it's structured and they say this is the budget for the role, and you can ask, can that be revised? There's nothing wrong with that. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's like a no, then you decide, am I fine with it? Then you can go ahead. If you're not fine with it, you can tell them no, it's below my my pay grade or is below what I want to earn. Then if the
Mm-hmm.
company, yes. And also in negotiation, especially for those companies that are very particular about your last salaries,
Mm-hmm.
don't lie, right? And I
Yeah.
see some people,
Very important.
it's
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
important. I see some people that say, oh, they've earned something, something, something. And some companies are very nosy, right? And they may
They
ask
would even
you,
ask, some can ask for your pay slip. It's not
yes,
necessarily legal. I feel uncomfortable with it, but I mean it happens. You
yes.
must
Some people
be.
might even ask you your recruitment contract. Sometimes it happens right now. Like I said, our focus of this conversation is giving you hacks, not necessarily whether it's
Saying what's right
professional or
or wrong.
not,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So, and they've gotten a time that you have to, let go of some people, good candidate because they lie. You realize, oh my God, this is an integrity issue here. He said he earns so and so, and at the end of the day, I realized he earns less because he felt he wanted to inflate the amount that you earn. So
Mm-hmm.
please, please, please be very, very, very honest with yourself. So if
Yeah.
you're in a company that you can say, I'm uncomfortable disclosing my current earning, but this is my expectation. So if you're in that company, you can decline on. If you're in a company that is open, they're open to you not saying what you currently earn. You can just say, I'm uncomfortable with disclosing my current earning, but these are my pay expectations. You can go on. While some
Yes.
companies they will not go on with the negotiation table until they know what you're earning,
Earning.
especially
Yeah.
if they don't
Yeah.
have a pay structure.
Yeah. And a good hack. Very good point, Shane. Another good hack to have is to come into the negotiation conversation having done your industry research. These people are not operating in a vacuum, right? They're in an industry, they have peers. What is the market rate for your role? If you're in the UK or the US or other parts of the world where there's data available, like you can go to Glassdoor, right?
Mhm.
And there's another on Pay Scale. There are
Yeah,
several
Facebook does that. Yeah.
online
Mhm.
locations where you can go and check what an estimate for that role is in that industry. So you are
Mhm.
coming with data, right? So several things. One, your whole conversation has been about value. If you've been able to project your value, right, and provide evidence through your track record, it kind of changes the tone of the conversation for you. You and I both know, Chinenye, that not all candidates are equal,
Oh
right?
yes.
In negotiation, there are some that I mean, you are ready to bend over backwards to
Oh true.
accommodate, then because the value is perceived a certain way.
I
So
agree.
one, let your conversation be driven around value. Two, have your market data, ready so that you don't cheat yourself, right? And you would have decided your walkaway point, as Chineye pointed out earlier on, so that when you get to that point, you stop. And then they say you're about to walk away, they call you back if you've made a strong enough impression. Okay, I think we've covered it quite thoroughly. Anyone watching this, if you follow these hacks, I suspect that you would have, a much more guided, meaningful experience and get a lot more out of your hiring process. Is there one last tip you want to give before we go?
Okay, yes. Actually two.
Okay.
One is as we're having this conversation, right? I'm aware that some people might not necessarily be making the kind of impact they want currently. So some people's CV, you see things like, I've closed this, I did this, I did that. Whether some other people's CV is operational. My advice to you is, as you're doing your work, decide within yourself to go beyond the money. Decide within yourself to go beyond the expected scope. Because what takes you far and beyond is not what your JD says. It's those things that are not written on the JDs that take you beyond where you are. Because that's what will give you leverage for your next role. Because you want to find out, if you're saying value, they want to see, have you been able to add value in the past? It's not just about saying values that are hanging in the air. So this is an opportunity for you to start building that value, to start building that muscle. If it's something that you cannot do at your current place of work, there's nothing wrong with volunteering somewhere. Most people don't say no to a volunteer. Volunteering somewhere and using that experience to build your muscle. What recruiters are looking for is not just, they want to find out, have you added value? So you can have an opportunity to say, I have added value. Secondly, remember, when you're moving, you can move lateral or vertical, depending on what you're looking for. If your current role is not giving, some people do, I've seen people that have done pay cuts. I've seen people that have moved to a seemingly lesser role, not necessarily lesser because they wanted more experience. It depends on what you're looking for. So if you're in a place and you feel like, okay, I am not doing so much here, I'm not, hitting the impact that I want for my next move, there's nothing wrong with you strategically moving the other way, right? While you're gaining that experience for your own good at the end of the day. So you can shift forward. So when you're ready, it propels you forward. So that's the one I want to say. So when you're moving, it's not just about moving forward. It's not just about a pay, because I've seen people that have been promoted beyond their capacity. So you've gotten a role that was beyond your capacity or promoted beyond your capacity, and you get and start having issues. Because as you're growing up, you have to start building capacity. Because it's not just about saying something. People also look at, are you able to deliver? And finally, never give up in your career pursuit. If you're not clear on what you want, take out time to do an introspection. If you're a Christian, you want to pray, that's fine. It's good for you to know what you really want. If you're not clear, you can ask for help. There's some mentors, there's some coaches.
And there's me, coach.
Yes. There's some coaches
talk
that
to
can
me.
Yes. Laddie is here and she's an expert. You can talk to her, on I'm having this issue. What do you recommend? She can advise you in terms of, you guys can collectively decide what's the best next step for you.
Forward.
Right. So those are things that can help you, because sometimes you make sacrifices for now, for tomorrow, because right now everything doesn't stop at today. You're looking at tomorrow, your eye is fixed on a ball. But what happens when there is no ball? This is when Laddie is here to help you clarify the ball so that you're clear on what you're working or striving towards.
Absolutely. Wow. I could go on forever, but we've reached the end, of this episode. Thank you so much. Those are really, that's why it's good to get someone who's actually doing the selection, right? Thank you. Those are really, really meaningful pointers. And so, we'll wrap up. Before we go away, you can follow Chineye. I'm just going to share. All right, I'm going to share her. This is her LinkedIn. Go ahead, find her on LinkedIn, right, and follow her. And of course, follow me as well. And if you have any career concerns, jobs. I focus on job search, really. I mean, I do career development, career guidance, but right now I'm really bullish for job search. So hit me up, let's have a chat. Our preliminary chat is free. Yeah. All right, thank you very much for joining us, Anglia, and sharing your experience. Thank you for watching, and for those who will watch the replay, right, if you have any comments, any questions, feel free to put it on the page and we will answer. Thank you and goodbye.